Well, make no mistake, millions of South Africans still bear the scars of apartheid, and in some ways, new wounds are starting to emerge. Let's get some perspective. Reporter Michael Marillier joining us for more. So, Mike, the Human Rights Commission, of course, releasing figures on racial discrimination. I see the study you say suggests complaints actually doubled in just 4 years.
Yeah, quite scary, Shahan. Let's actually take a look at those numbers as we explore a South Africa in which we are very much not yet uhuru. I think that's the great phrase, not yet uhuru. We still have some way to go when it comes to dealing with racism. So we've looked at this report, Shahan, which looks at the number of equality complaints sent to the South African Human Rights Commission. When we speak of equality complaints, these are typically issues related to discrimination. So just over 500 in 2012, 2013, and the trend and the trajectory really has been upwards over the last 4 or 5 years after that. In fact, 2016, 2017, it climbed to above 700. So those are complaints specifically to do with discrimination. Let's break it down a little bit further and we'll get a sense of how South Africans are dealing with one another. And in terms of those complaints, Shahan, you'll see a range of different subjects, for example, religion, sexual orientation, disability. But the one that stands out is race. The vast majority of complaints when it comes to equality and discrimination are actually linked to race. And of course, as you mentioned, we're almost 3 decades into democracy and still we're grappling with this problem. Race making up 70% of the complaints when it comes to discrimination in South Africa. Sean?
Yes, and let's switch gears for a moment. Service delivery, a massive problem in South Africa. Combine that with the legacy of apartheid and you have a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at that. So we looked at the number of complaints sent to the Human Rights Commission when it comes to socio-economic issues, so Sean. So basically we wanted to explore the idea that, apartheid and the legacy of apartheid isn't simply about words that are spoken or gestures. It's about a lived reality. It's about access to resources. And of course, the current government now having to deal with the legacy of apartheid. So as you'll see, Sean, the socio-economic complaints much, much higher than the complaints of blatant racism and discrimination. For example, health, water, social security, more than 600 complaints. Housing, almost 300 complaints. Education, almost 290 complaints. And if we move on, Shahan, we'll wrap it all up and just give you a sense of the socio-economic reality and the legacy of apartheid. More than 1,200 socio-economic complaints sent to the Human Rights Commission in a single year. So really, apartheid, much more than just rude words and cruel gestures, Shahan. It's about a lived reality.
Yeah, and of course, we must admit we have come a long way, but we still have a long way to go.